1995 was a monumental year for music, with every genre making an impact and the industry undergoing a major shift. Grunge and alternative rock were still reigning, with bands like Radiohead, Smashing Pumpkins, Oasis, Soundgarden, and Pearl Jam leading the way. At the same time, pop icons like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, and Madonna, along with groups like TLC, The Fugees, Salt and Peppa, and Boyz II Men, were dominating the charts. The mid-90s were also a golden era for hip-hop, with artists like Tupac, Biggie, Dr. Dre, Wu-Tang, and A Tribe Called Quest releasing albums that would go on to define the genre. CDs dominated as a top physical format, surpassing both vinyl and cassettes in sales. But it wasn't just about CDs. MP3s were starting to gain momentum, marking the beginning of the digital music era that would soon change everything.
You know what? Maybe I wouldn't have to whore myself out if you kids didn't steal my music.
There's all this stuff about them hating Napster. So what? They have one problem. They're still a good band.
In 1995, I was 15, a sophomore in high school in Rockland County, New York. Yes, I am from Rockland, Rockland. You can't make this up, I know. I feel extremely lucky that my formative years were in the 90s, a time when every genre of music was going through a renaissance, especially alternative rock. I'm going to take you through some of my favorite albums of 1995, which all turn 30 this year, as part of a series with vinyl.com. So make sure you check out the other videos in the series as well. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button as we continue to build this community together. And if you want to add any of the albums I talk about to your collection, head over to vinyl.com. So many albums turned 30 this year, and I need to kick it off with Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. I remember seeing the video for You Ought to Know on MTV, and there she was, this girl with fiery, sexy, long dark hair, just bangs in her face, singing these deeply personal, provocative, dark, intimate lyrics. She was fire. We hadn't seen this breed of ferocity before. She was angry, irreverent, bold, wild. I loved her. And You Ought to Know was just the beginning. Also, fun fact, Dave Navarro and Flea of the Red Hot Chili Peppers play on the track.
My friend Jimmy called me up and said, I'm remixing this song. Would you come in and play on it? And I said, okay.
At the time, we were like kind of in hiatus, not working on the record, and I like to work.
Then you had Hand in My Pocket, which was pure wit, clever, adorable innocence with a bite. Her intelligent lyrics told stories, but with a wink. She had the upper hand. She knew what was really going on. Also, ironic, just forget it.
It's like rain.
This was massive. The lyrics were so witty and catchy, and the video of her in the car, the different looks, the styles, the moods, it totally captured her essence. I wanted to be friends with her. I wanted to be her. This song showed the beauty of her voice, her ability to go from sweet and pretty and soft to loud and brave. 6 monster singles from this album. It was groundbreaking, era-defining, and would continue to blaze a trail for countless artists that followed, including some of the most popular artists of today, like Olivia Rodrigo, Sabrina Carpenter, and Chappell Roan. The album's massive success is undeniable, with over 33 million copies sold, cementing it as one of the best-selling albums of all time. I saw Alanis recently at the Forum here in LA, and I can tell you, she is better than ever. I surprised myself with how I still knew every single lyric, and I felt even more inspired by her 30 years later. I cannot emphasize enough how transformative Jagged Little Pill was. As a young girl, it helped give me a voice, and now all these decades later, I can look back and recognize the foundational role it helped play in shaping me into a strong, assertive woman. Continuing with the theme of angst in 1995, the album I probably listened to the most was Mellon Collie and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins, also rocking the shirt, obviously. This double album, 28 tracks, was just absolutely mind-blowing to me. It wasn't just rock, it was grunge, pop, metal, classical, and orchestral numbers. It was art. Mellon Collie was the album that solidified the Pumpkins as an era-defining band. It felt like The Wall for Gen X. The lead single, Bullet with Butterfly Wings, became an instant anthem, capturing all of the angst and fury of being 15. Whenever I was angry, this song was on repeat. This album never left my boombox, and when I upgraded to a 5-disc changer, those 2 discs took up 2 of the 5 slots. Now that is true love. Then there was 1979, which introduced a synth pop side of the band, perhaps foreshadowing Adore. And how lucky was I that 1979 was my birth year. That song became an anthem for our generation. Tonight, with its lush orchestration, was beautiful, and the groundbreaking video won every award at the MTV VMAs. I could actually do like a track by track, and maybe I will at some point, but that point is not now. It is also surreal to me that now as an adult, William Patrick Corgan has become a dear friend of mine. We have held hands, we have cried.
I almost made myself cry.
I know, I'm actually
Here on the Alley show, we talk about rock and we get really sensitive. You're killing me.
I was honored to help induct them into the infamous handprint ceremony at the Hollywood Chinese Theater. But one of my favorite memories was in 2019 when the Smashing Pumpkins were on tour with Noel Gallagher. I was extremely pregnant at the time, and I was watching the show from the side of the stage. Pumpkins were wrapping their set, and I'm always very respectful of artists' needs for downtime, like right after exiting a stage. They just poured their heart and soul into their music for the past few hours. So I started to step aside out of Billy's way, and instead, he beelines towards me in his endless black cloak. He sees my very rotund, pregnant belly, and he kneels before me. And I'm thinking, this lucky, unborn child is currently being knighted by my childhood hero. It was a very full circle moment and shows how much Billy values friends and family. And congratulations to Billy and his wife Chloe, who just welcomed their 3rd child, little baby Juno. Billy, we have to get the kids together. Switching gears now to No Doubt's debut album, Tragic Kingdom.
The multi-platinum award-winning album by No Doubt on Trauma Interscope Records.
I remember coming home from a high school party late one night, maybe like midnight or so. My parents and I had a great relationship. I was a very responsible and respectful kid, so my parents didn't give me a curfew. It's pretty awesome. Anyway, I came home and turned on MTV because I was obsessed with 120 Minutes, hosted by my idol at the time, but now my best friend, Matt Pinfield. It was this show that set me on my career path of wanting to be the female Matt Pinfield. The song was Just a Girl by a new band called No Doubt. Here was this platinum-haired girl with this throwback style, but with like a new fierce edge. It was quirky, it was bold, it was weird, it was funky, it was awesome. And I loved how athletic she was. I loved that she wore crop tops to show off her fit physique, her abs. I felt so seen. As a high school athlete myself, I felt an instant connection to Gwen Stefani, just like I had with Alanis. Just a Girl became an immediate anthem, and Gwen Stefani was an instant icon. Spiderwebs was the next single. This ska punk song really showed that this band was onto something and they were saying something. These songs were about female empowerment and about being sick of gender stereotypes that women had to be a certain way. Then they released Don't Speak. This was the ballad that catapulted them to superstar status. It was about the breakup between Gwen and Tony in the band. This was the song that exploded. The video was non-stop MTV. It went to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 16 weeks, which was a record at the time. It was broken in 1998 by Goo Goo Dolls' Iris with 18 weeks, by the way. This album blended ska, punk, and pop in a way that truly helped shape the alternative rock landscape, and it introduced us to Gwen Stefani, who not only helped define the 90s, but continues to become even more legendary with time. I must pay homage to Soup, the second studio album from perhaps one of the most underrated bands of all time, Blind Melon. I can't tell you enough how much I love Blind Melon.
Is this the place that I wanna be? Is it you I wanna see?
Shannon Hoon was up there for me right alongside all of my loves: Kurt Cobain, Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder, Lane Staley, Michael Hutchence, Jeff Buckley. When I actually got my own laptop in the late 90s, Shannon Hoon was my screensaver as well. Just wanted to share that. So after the commercial success of Blind Melon's self-titled quadruple platinum debut album and the double-edged sword of the infamous B-Girl video for No Rain, Soup came along and was thematically much, darker. Shannon was really affected by the death of his friend Kurt Cobain. We all were. I literally held seances for Kurt. I was not okay. A lot of songs about drugs and detox and murder. Skinned is about the murderer, Ed Gein. Car Seat is about that horrifying story of Susan Smith who killed her children by driving them into a lake. The Beautiful St. Andrew's Fall is about a suicide he witnessed, and Mouthful of Cavities is either about Shannon himself or a song to himself. Walk is a favorite of mine. The juxtaposition of the dark lyrics coupled with the up-tempo jam vibe, just so many layers. Tragically, Shannon would pass away from a cocaine overdose only 2 months after Soup's release, and this gorgeous album never got the credit it deserved. It has been my mission to always celebrate this band and its legacy. I was so proud to be interviewed for the book Shannon. I'm so saddened by the fact I never got to meet Shannon or see Blind Melon live. The 2019 All I Can Say documentary, which pieces together all of the footage Shannon filmed himself from 1990 to 95 until a few hours before his sudden death at the age of 28, is an absolute must. And I, of course, have my beloved VHS tape, Letters from a Porcupine. For those of us who know Blind Melon, we know Blind Melon, and we know the significance of Soup, and you are my people. Let's look towards the gifts of England in 1995, and we shall start with this. What's the Story? Morning Glory by Oasis. This was life-changing. This was the breakthrough album for the band in the US. The songwriting was impeccably anthemic and timeless. The recordings were gorgeously produced by Owen Morris and Noel Gallagher. And the look, the style, the attitude, it was all just perfect. The brotherly drama between Noel and Liam Gallagher only added to the mystique and the larger-than-life persona of the band, and their live shows were legendary, just full of swagger and defiance. Oasis truly felt like the modern-day Beatles, especially to the generation coming of age in the 90s, and their impact on Britpop and rock was undeniable.
You know, recording it, nobody realized that that was our moment. That was my second attempt at writing an album. And the first one wasn't bad either.
The album delivered hit after hit, with songs like Wonderwall and Champagne Supernova going to #1 on rock radio, while tracks like Don't Look Back in Anger became anthems of the era, with many considering it a modern Beatles classic. It was basically like their Hey Jude. As for Wonderwall, it's one of the most iconic songs of the 90s and continues to be a staple of pop culture. Wonderwall is one of the few songs to have over 2 billion streams and is only second to Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit for the most streamed song of the 90s. It is going to be a massive year ahead with this upcoming tour, and I cannot wait. Radiohead's The Bends was another incredible album from 1995. This is a perfect album start to finish and should be listened to as a body of work in sequence because it takes you on a journey. As soon as the opening track, Planet Telex, starts, you are transported to another stratosphere. No clue what you're hearing or you're feeling, but it feels new and unique. It's like, I'm here. I am down to go with you wherever you are taking me. To this day, when I need a reset, I put on The Bends. The sequence of this album is so key. High and Dry into Fake Plastic Trees, epic. There was an acoustic version of Fake Plastic Trees on the Clueless soundtrack out that year, which also helped put the band in front of a larger American audience. Having Nice Dream and Just back-to-back, it showed the dynamic range of the band of what they could play and how they can make you feel. Black Star is not just a highlight on the Bends for me, it is one of my all-time favorite songs. The haunting melodies, cryptic lyrics, and atmospheric instrumentation just makes it a standout track. Its dark tone and existential vibe just really add to the overall mood of the album, giving it that emotional depth that makes the band so unforgettable. This album proved that Radiohead were far from a one-hit wonder with the massive success of Creep off of Pablo Honey, and would in fact go on to inspire a new generation of bands, including Muse, Coldplay, Keane, Snow Patrol, the list goes on and on. Radiohead is one of the most influential bands in history. There are so many incredible albums from 1995, and one of the standout releases is Foo Fighters' debut self-titled album. We needed this album. The world was still reeling from Kurt Cobain's death and the end of Nirvana, so it felt like a breath of fresh air when Dave Grohl formed a new band. Dave himself has said that he wrote so much on this album as a form of catharsis, using music to process his grief and find healing. He was actually invited to join Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but once Tom Petty heard about Dave's new project, he encouraged him to follow his own path. Thank God for Tom Petty on many, many levels. The album brought hope during a dark time and is credited with helping to kick off the post-grunge movement, shifting the musical landscape toward a new era. Dave recorded the album in just 6 days, a rapid and raw process that reflected the emotional urgency behind it. The album was nominated for Best Alternative Music Album at the 1996 Grammys, but lost out to Nirvana's MTV Unplugged in New York. While I never had the chance to see Nirvana live, I've had the privilege of seeing Foo Fighters countless times, including one of the best experiences of my life was seeing the band play at the Blue Note in Napa, which was their friends and family warm-up show for only about 100 of us in a bar where I was literally standing directly in front of the band the entire time. I've also had the opportunity to interview Dave Grohl and the late great Taylor Hawkins, and will forever have this clip of Dave reinterpreting my name.
Oh, and it's Allison Hagendorf, in case you weren't sure.
It's not Hagendorf. Yeah, this is Allison Hagendorf. That's maybe how we should do it.
I mean, if you're going to have a name like Hagendorf, you may as well have Dave Grohl do an epic pronunciation of it. And yes, I do own this. So there's that. So many iconic albums from 1995. Red Hot Chili Peppers' One Hot Minute, Alice in Chains' self-titled album, Garbage's debut self-titled album, Silverchair's debut album, Frog Stomp, Jewel's Pieces of You, Tupac's Me Against the World, Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise, Mariah Carey's Daydream, the list goes on. I would love for you to hit the subscribe button so you can get notified of upcoming videos. What was your favorite album from 1995? Share below. I would love to connect with you, so please leave a comment. And until next time, let kindness be your superpower.